Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cosmic Owl Astrology with Louise Edington. I am the Cosmic Owl. I'm the Cyberpunk Witch Priestess to the Stars. I'm the author of 4 books. My latest is Series, the book on Series, and you can find them all at all major booksellers. You can search my name as an author. But anyway, I had the pleasure of walking into a Barnes and Noble on Saturday to buy a gift, and there was my second book, The Complete Guide to Astrology, on the shelves at Barnes and Noble, facing forward, not even just the side one. I was like, yes. Anyway, I always wanted to be a writer, by the way, so it just shows that if you keep going long enough, you can achieve your dreams. My first book was published when I was 58, by the way, so it's never too late. Anyway, I'm here today to talk about the Aries new moon. But before I do, don't forget to do the subscribe thing, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Any interaction with these videos really helps to spread the word. I'm really grateful to all of you that have subscribed. Quite a few more came over from my video with my friend Dabney on Lawless Astrology. Thanks again. Welcome to my channel. I do new full moon videos, various other videos, the weekly political ones with my friend Kathy, almost every week. And so, you know, I'm a bit of a prolific content maker. So I understand you perhaps cannot watch them all, but that's okay. If you wouldn't mind giving me some kind of reaction, it really helps spread the videos and the channel. The other thing I'd love to mention before I dive in and we have a quick look at the chart and the cards and then go into the whole thing about this Aries new moon that's upcoming is that I still have some coupon codes left for 20% off consultations with me. I seem to have, this whole year has been me uncovering issues in platforms. I had a new website, I moved my membership, and when I first announced that I got 20% off, people were trying to schedule the consultations and the payment thing wasn't working, and then there was various issues with the calendar connection, but now it's all working. So I'll put the code below, but it's, if you want to just go to my website, louiseedington.com, the code is enter the spiral, all one word, for 20% off a consultation of either 60 minutes or 90 minutes. And you can book it now or you can book it for later in the year, whenever's ready. I don't very often do discounts, so. So grab a spot at 20% off. All right, so the new moon coming up is on April the 17th. I'm just going to separate this. There we go. Okay, I had it in with other things and now I just separated it out. The chart. It's on April the 17th, which is a Friday, Venus Day. Woohoo! I'm already planning my Venus retrograde class, by the way. So if you're not on my email list and you want to know when that is coming, get on the email list. Anyway, it's April the 17th at 7:51 a.m. Eastern. I always set the times for DC. And it's an Aries new moon. We'll look at the chart in a minute. But first, let me give you a glimpse of the cards I pulled for this new moon. Seer of Bees. This again from the Red Seeds Tarot. 6 of Vessels. 8 of Seeds. These are great cards, by the way. And a card I've not pulled before, and I love it. This is the Labyrinth Walker. Okay, so we'll go through those towards at the end after I've been through some of the astrology. So let's have a quick look at the chart, and I'll point out a few things about this Aries new moon. But first, I just want you to kind of look at the concentration yet again. I know I keep pointing this out, but look at this. All we have left in Aquarius are Juno, which moved into Aquarius, Pluto, which will have a long journey through Aquarius, and Chariklo. All we have left now in Pisces, this is Icarus, by the way. I've left Icarus in because Icarus seems to be speaking to a lot of stuff at the moment. But anyway, that's asteroid Icarus. We've got the North Node in Pisces, which is always moves backwards. So it's heading towards Aquarius, where it will change signs in a few weeks. We have Vesta, asteroid Vesta in Pisces still. We have Centaur Nessus in Pisces still. And Pallas Athena is still in Pisces, but she's soon going to move into Aries. Then look at this Aries energy. So by the time of the new moon on the 17th, we have Neptune in Aries, incidentally at the degree of the last Venus star point, last March 2025, the retrograde Venus star point. So Mercury has moved into Aries and is at 3 Aries now, moving really fast. Mars in Aries as well. Saturn in Aries, Eris, Chiron, Sun, Moon, and this is Artemis, because I'm recording this on the day that the rocket Artemis is on the other side of the moon, further than manned spacecraft has gone, I believe. So it just seems very potent at the moment, so I've added her in. On the other end, though, asteroid Lilith has left Aries and joined Ceres and Venus in Taurus, and Uranus is at the last degree of Taurus and will be moving into Gemini soon. But look at this. So if we have Pholus here, which is a centaur, and Jupiter here, almost all of the energy is still on one side of the chart. And almost all of it is in the last 2 signs of the zodiac, but even more, almost all of it in the major planets, personal planets, are now all in the first 2 signs of the zodiac. So we are really starting the new cycle. This is really kind of about creating what we are creating and moving out of these end times of this Pisces that we've been in for a long time. I really do think we are, obviously there's a lot to shake out still, but I really do think the new beginnings are starting. So we can see that this new moon is at 27 degrees 28 minutes of Aries, conjunct Chiron, conjunct Eris, and conjunct Artemis. So it has a real kind of warrior shake-up feel. Eris, I often call Eris the table turner because her myth is that she was not invited to the wedding of the gods and goddesses. The elites, the beautiful people, if you like, and because she was said to be too ugly, and she went along to the wedding and stood on this kind of outskirts and threw in the apple of discord that said to the fairest. Now that made the goddesses fight over who was most beautiful, and it led to the Trojan War and the fall of Troy, right? So she instigates, she kind of stirs, if you like, the trouble between others. And I do see that kind of infighting starting to happen at the levels of the greedy and powerful, right? That's Eris's job, to my opinion. I often say she reveals the vanities, bonfire of the vanities, if you like, in many ways. But she she reveals the artifice, she reveals the shallowness, she reveals the greed, she reveals the, all of those things. She was also said to roam the battlefield after battle and bathe in the blood of the fallen warriors. Now, that has been portrayed as hate as well, as so as how her causing the discord is. But to my mind, she roamed the battlefield and covered herself in the blood to say, look what we do. Look at this. Anyway, that's my revisionist view of Eris. That's how I feel. And originally, she, by the way, the planet Eris was named Xena, warrior princess. So we have Xena. Then we have Chiron, who to my mind is the true Christ consciousness in many ways, that energy of both the wound and the healing. And notice I'm not talking about the person, and we're seeing a lot more revisionist stuff coming through about that as well. So Chiron is both the wound, it reveals the wound, but it's also the medicine. And then we have Artemis. Now, Artemis, as I said, was a warrior goddess, bow and arrow, very Sagittarian in kind of nature, known as the goddess of the hunt, the wilderness, wild animals, the moon, and chastity. Of course, she had to be a virgin. She was a fierce protector of young women, and she was the daughter of Zeus and Leto and twin sister to Apollo. She wielded a silver bow to hunt and punish those who offended her. They're always portrayed as some kind of virgin or whore, right? So, all of those kinds of things. Virgin literally does mean one who is whole unto herself, but, that's not what it's been talked about. So she's often been linked with the moon and also identified with the goddess Selene, which is kind of the white moon energy. There's so many layers to all of these mythical goddesses, right? So she was a guardian of young girls and a patron of hunters and fishermen. So she's very much about being in alignment with nature. And I don't know if any of you know hunters, but we have a lot of them here in Utah. I'm not a fan of hunting. However, many of the people here hunt with the bow and arrow, and they will track the animal and go out, and then they will, when they kill the animal with their bow and arrow, they will use every part of the animal. They kind of do what the ancients did. They will thank the animal, all of those kind of things. I've actually discovered over time, despite my Brit resistance to hunting, because we just have fox hunting and things, that people who hunt in that way are often quite spiritual about it. They're very much in connection with tracking the land and things. So, I'm not saying we all go out and be hunters, but to me, Artemis is not so much about the punishment energy, but she's kind of the one who is in tune with that natural law, which is very kind of Archer Sagittarius. Okay, so anyway, key myths. She turned Actaeon, a hunter, into a stag to be eaten by his own hounds. Orion, she killed or caused death, the death of the giant hunter after he broke a vow. Niobe, alongside Apollo, she killed the children of Niobe for boasting about having more children than their mother Leto. Callisto transformed her follower into a bear for breaking her vow of chastity with Zeus. And maybe she was protecting them, like a lot of people are saying that Medusa was protected by Pallas Athena now. Anyway, all these myths need to be rewritten, in my opinion. Anyway, she's often associated with the deer, bear, cypress tree, and the crescent moon. So that's Artemis for you. And here she is at the very last degree of Aries, about to move into Taurus, making things manifest. And of course, the moon will move into Taurus right after the new moon, and then the sun, just about 2.5 days later, will move into Taurus, and it'll be Taurus season. A couple of other things I will mention and talk about as we go through. I may not share the chart again. Pluto and Haumea are in that ongoing square. They are separating at the moment, but they are going to come back together again for more exact squares. But Juno, which is contracts and sacred contracts, if you like, contracts of all kinds, is in this square with Haumea, which is regeneration in Scorpio. I will say that Chariklo is part of this. She is a sextile. She is spinner of grace. Pallas Athena is at the same degree as the new moon, making an itch, a scratch. All this speaks to me of pulling the threads together to write this new story for this new beginning we are moving into. Again, more threads. Then look at all of this. We have, so Haumea's at 3 degrees. Juno and Pluto at 4 and 5. This is Hygeia, which is preventative health. This is Sedna, but she is very slow moving. Asteroid Lilith, talk to the hand Lilith as I call her, is at 3. Then we have Neptune, Mercury and Mars, and I'm going to say Saturn, all between 2 and 7 degrees. They are all speaking to each other in many ways as well. This is adding to the feeling that, this is this transformation and rebirth in lots of ways. And lastly, before I stop the share and just talk, we have the goddess energies leading the way into Taurus as the Great Awakener Uranus moves out. I love this. I love that, the divine feminine is leading the way into Taurus, which is the most earthly of signs. It's about making things real, making things manifest. It's about our connection with the senses and the earth and all of those things. It's about our core values. Matriarchy is rising, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, let me stop the share. So first of all, let's look at the numbers. So 27 degrees is an interesting number. 27 is really the archetype of the guru. It's often said to be the number of the bodhisattva. It's about philanthropy, compassion. It's one of the most beautiful numbers to my mind. I remember there was a whole load of things at 27 degrees, but it's a 2, which is the divine feminine, and a 7, which is a very spiritual number. It makes 9, which is endings. It's said to be with the energy of the bodhisattva or the guru because it blends the diplomatic, sensitive nature of 2 with the mystical, intellectual wisdom of 7 to serve humanity. So it's a humanitarian number. It's also the trinity of trinities because it's 3 by 3 by 3. And it's the grounded number that bridges the material and spiritual worlds. It's the guru or scepter number, but it's associated with enlightened beings, sainthood, and the potential to act as a spiritual guide or teacher. And because it has the 9 essence, it also embodies the traits of compassion, tolerance, and unconditional love. The shadow of a 27 really is about overgiving and emotional exhaustion. But I think looking with the other energies, I think we're okay. But as always, do your self-care and practice that bodhisattva energy on you. Okay. But the bodhisattva really is a Buddhist philosophy. And the 27th verse specifically addresses the practice of patience and the transformation of harmful situations into opportunities for spiritual growth. That verse is, for bodhisattvas who want to be rich in virtue, a person who hurts you is a precious treasure. Cultivate patience for everyone, completely free of irritation or resentment. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. Incidentally, there's lots of 27s. Hindu astrology has 27 lunar mansions or nakshatras. The New Testament in the canon contains 27 books, and the Kabbalah has the 27th path is the, pardon me for slaughtering this, is the Sekal Murgash, or path of natural intelligence. I'm going to say that we are all being invited to this, okay? We are all being invited. I've talked about the process a lot of becoming more self-aware, and of realizing that if it is to be, it's up to me. Doesn't mean you have to do every part of it, but you have to play your part. That we've got no big daddy coming to save us in many ways, or no government is coming to save us, or no one leader is coming to save us. You know, we are all the bodhisattvas, if you like. We are, or there's a tremendous opportunity here to become the more enlightened ones, the more the ones who teach, the more humanitarians, you know, the to be the real kind of soul reader and healer in some way, to solve the big human problem in this big turning of the ages energy that I have tried to express in so many ways, through the lens of what I talked about the descending age and the monotheism. Apparently, according to one person, I got the date of formation of Judaism wrong, but it was still within the last 6,300 years since that last 0-degree Aries conjunction, the falling age of the big wheel, the great age. Okay. This illusion of separation that changed the world order into this hierarchical, patriarchal thing. But now, after this new Saturn-Neptune conjunction that was at 0 Aries, we are in this time of redefining, revisiting the new world order, and it's up to be. We can help create this in the way that we wish to see, be more humanitarian, all of those kind of things. Now, the fact that this new moon is conjunct Chiron means that we've kind of got the opportunity here to be literally, to be the medicine. We've seen the wound in our own actions and the actions of humanity as a whole, I'm going to say. And then we have Eris. I've talked to Eris already, being Xena, the warrior princess, but warrior for the outsiders, the warrior for those that are left out, the warrior for the poor, you know, all of those things that are not part of the elites. And then we have Artemis as well, another warrior energy, kind of bookending this new moon. That's all that energy is at the last 5 degrees of Aries, a very potent kind of area of the chart in a lot of ways. Now, I actually kind of meant to look what the decan was too, and bear with me. So let's see if I can remember it. Oh, decans. Oh, I think it was the Egyptian terms she used. I just want to look what decan this is. It's Venus decan, so it's a very creative decan. The last 10 degrees of the sign of Aries is Venus. So this is another indicator of the divine feminine, if you like, coming through. Does that, everything keeps pointing to this, right? You know, this is just like, I just want to see which is the, yeah, even if I use the Ptolemaic decans, it's Venus, 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 Venus. So, you know, yes, we do have Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and all the other things in Aries. There may be some more assertion and aggression, and I don't think we've seen the end of this war yet. But it's showing us where we are all out of alignment, right? You know, most people are against it. People are against it. And so not just in the US, I'm not talking about that. This is just kind of like this unholy war to end all holy wars, in my opinion. And it's not just about the religions, of course. It's all about kind of East versus West, and all this illusion of control and domination, and my way is right, and all of these kind of things. Pallas Athena, incidentally, is at mentioned, so she is the wise justice kind of goddess, and she is very much about pulling pieces together and being strategic and things, because she's in this semi-sextile aspect to the new moon in Aquarius. She is actually square to the galactic center, which is emitting this new knowledge and new information that she is bringing down, and that she will bring into Aries for this new beginning. So beneath all of this chaos and end times energy, underneath is growing this sense of, we can do this, we can build something else, this sense of resiliency, this sense of, we all have to play our part. I'm engaged locally in some of our local politics here. I'm the first vice chair of the county progressive caucus and a delegate, but I use my Zoom account, because I have one, to set up some Zoom calls for our caucus, and we have a meeting this week for candidates for office in Utah to come and give their pitch to us for our endorsement. And we've so far, we've got 3 days left yet, got over 53 people registered, which is pretty much a record for a county small caucus like ours in my memory. And we've got 3 days left yet. People are realizing, that they feel things are changing and that they have to kind of get involved in some way. Okay. So those attending will be some of the candidates, but will also be people who want to have their vote for who we're going to endorse. And, this is a very tiny piece of all of this. I've said many times, it doesn't have to be just politics. Anyway, now I just want to talk, but Aries, this is Aries, the first sign. This is very direct. Aries is the pioneer. Aries is warrior energy, but it's very pure and toddler-like in its kind of way. It's kind of, I want what I want, and I want it now kind of thing, if you think of toddlers. But it's adventurous. It can be antagonistic and aggressive, but it doesn't have to be. It can be ardent and brash and bullying, but it really, at its highest, is energetic, independent, impulsive, and competitive. This is the sign of the natural leader. This is the sign of taking action and go-getting, if you like. This is the sign also of the I am. This is the confidence and courageous and optimistic, assertive, passionate, ambitious, direct, motivated, trailblazing kind of energy. And it's showing up somewhere in everybody's chart right now. And I'm seeing it, that people are feeling this a little bit. But again, yes, there can be the shadow of impulsive, impatient, headstrong, aggressive, again, selfish, hot-tempered, and reckless. And well, maybe we'll see that in some people. But really, it's about, I'm born to lead. So if you want to step into the highest energy of this Aries, you're going to take the lead in some small way, or in your own life, or just take the lead to go and sign up to a project or something. One I keep talking about is that Standards Not Force on Substack, which was the former Black Panther guy, and some other people have set it up. They've actually started their thing of sending out emails. It's very organized, and it's very not forceful. it's very much that leadership energy of Aries. Okay, so it's a great example of things that are emerging, these emergent strategies, so to speak. Now then, I didn't mention that we also have Black Moon Lilith, which often represents where we've been shamed or where we feel shame. And she's the wild elemental part of ourselves that has been shamed for being feminine. It's in all of us. So that's why I use those words consciously. Black Moon Lilith is also at 27 degrees. She is 27 degrees Scorpio. She is making a water trine to Pallas Athena. So Pallas Athena is saying, we need to think of ways to let go of all of that messaging in the past, of that power over paradigm, and step into our own empowerment, which is very Scorpio. She's also making an exact quincunx aspect of adjustment to the new moon in Mars sign, 2 Mars sign rules. This is saying we're not doing this anymore. We are taking action to start something very different. Okay. Let me just check into the chart again to see if there's anything else I want to mention. I don't want to go too much into all those things at 2 and 3 and 4 degrees, except to say that they are at degrees that are going to be really potent in this summer once Uranus moves into Gemini and starts to aspect Neptune and Pluto. More on that later. Okay. All right, so let me go. And I think we're going to look at the symbols and then the cards. All right. So before I do that, don't forget louiseeddington.com, code enter the spiral to get 20% off. There's a limited number of coupon codes. So anyway, the Sabian symbol for 28 Aries, we always go up, remember, is a large disappointed audience. This symbol represents the need for mature self-criticism, managing expectations, and recognizing when performances or efforts fail to meet the high standards or desires of others, often highlighting a gap between anticipation and reality. So it's about managing expectations. It's also leading to a need for reassessment. It can be about self-correction, pointing to the necessity of looking inwards to understand why a performance, effort, project, or communication is not resonating or did not resonate, encouraging some refinement. Remember, this is a new moon, so this could be what you're setting your intentions around, right? It can be a bit of a wake-up call where you might want to face the reality of a situation rather than the fantasy of what you hoped it might be. In some interpretations of the Sabian symbols, it's phrased as a large audience confronts the performer who disappointed its expectations. So, I'm not going to go and I just want to read James Burgess's. But he said as well, this is about keeping our word. This is about speaking with power and truth. We need to take other people into account when we make our claims and promises so that we do not later disappoint. If we want to perfect both will and sensitivity, then we need to do everything we can to fulfill our promises. This strongly impacts upon what possibilities of development and achievement will unfold for us. Okay. I will let you take from that what you will. Now then, the Chandra and Omega symbols. So, the Omega symbol, first of all, is an artist's studio. Many unfinished paintings everywhere. He said that's transforming and receptive. He said to carry on the work of self-unfolding is what is all important. You have no need to finish anything unless it serves this purpose. You are one to take up many things and to move from one thing to another as suits your purpose. This may be practically inconvenient at times, but what you need to do if you are to follow your bliss. That kind of speaks to me as trying things out and reconsidering and readjusting. Kind of speaks to that Sabian symbol as well. Now the Chandra symbol for this degree, and I'm going to reword it slightly, but a wreath of laurel placed on the head of an old person, not a man. It's okay to complete the mission and gain the prize, and it's also okay to leave things half finished. It all depends on the context. This degree affirms that I am not the products I make or the actions I perform. When you can take or leave out a success, you attain to a power and freedom that allows the free flow of experimentation and exploration. Okay, I like that. But I also want to read Elias Lonsdale's interpretation. A laurel wreath was also always a symbol of achievement and winning and excellence itself, by the way, kind of victory. All right, so again, a wreath of laurel placed on the head of an old person. The soul's journey is absolutely endless, and you sense throughout that journey that somebody is watching. The greater dynamic is at work here, and you live into that ultimate aspect from the very beginning. You simply know that your destiny must and will be fulfilled. There is a higher vibrational inside track that accompanies each step, every phase, and that otherness gives you back yourself in such a fashion that you are never alone, not incomplete, never less than whole. All of the vital agitations only serve to quicken the pace, to bring you back on the spiral to that vital place again, where you are known and acknowledged, and from which you can go forth and know and acknowledge others in their destiny light, seen and sensed and known, free from all qualifications. I will let you just soak that one up. And we'll go to the cards. So, Seer of Bees. I'm going to read them all separately. 6 of Vessels, 8 of Seeds, and the Labyrinth Walker. And it made me smile when it talked about the spiral, because that's my thing. Anyway, the bees. This is the Seer of Bees is I am communication. And remember that Mercury is now in Aries, clear communication after that challenging retrograde in Pisces. But when you shoot an arrow of truth, dip its point in honey. That's an Arab proverb. The seer's energy is swift and striking and holds a richness of knowledge and an intellect that is discriminating, creative, and intense. Communication and movement comes easily to this seer. Speaking to others is a gift he holds, and as a narrator, he holds the attention of all. The seer is a natural leader who is courageous and assertive. On occasions, the seer can lose his temper and stamp off until he cools down. But this might happen within you, by the way. But this only happens when the seer is up against serious stupidity or wrongdoing. Listen to what this seer has to say, for he brings words of wisdom and messages from high places that teach us things we don't know yet. Talk to the seer. He likes that. And then we've got the 6 of Vessels. This is I am nostalgic. We've still got some things left in Pisces. We're going to look back because we're in such an end times and new beginnings. But let me read the quote from Masaru Emoto. Water has a memory and carries within it our thoughts and prayers. As you yourself are water, no matter where you are, your prayers will be carried to the rest of the world. But this says this card offers kindness, hospitality, and generosity, which we receive with grace and love. We are reminded that we belong and all is well. Sentimental and nostalgic memories may arise from our past. Something or someone from long ago may appear and become prominent in our thoughts and feelings. Our inner child may also make itself known, offering us memories, wounded ones and happier ones. Let us send love and forgiveness to all the hidden parts of ourself and feel gratitude for the joyful memories we can remember. For now, we will spend some time looking backwards, but soon we must move back into the now. Living in a world overflowing with memories and nostalgia can steal our days. We smile, our soul smiles, we are standing exactly where we are meant to be. 8 of Seeds. I am productive, though. This is after the nostalgia. So the Buddha said, each day of my life I am sowing seeds that one day I will harvest. We are validated and know that our skills are appreciated and acknowledged. Our work and service is productive and will reap rewards. This is a good time to assess in which direction your work might be going. Does your work truly encompass who you are? Or perhaps you might feel you need to add to your skills. For now, admire your efforts that have led to the achievement you have so far, that laurel crown. You all have talents and abilities that are an important part of who you are. Hard work, commitment, determination, and tending will continue to improve your skills and deliver accomplishment and satisfaction in your life, no matter what you are aiming towards. Okay, so onto the Labyrinth Walker. I was very excited to see this. And incidentally, this is 25, so it's a 7. We talked about that being the most spiritual of numbers. Anyway, we all seek comfort. It's human nature. After walking the labyrinth, we desire to sink into the center, relax, stay. Maybe build a home there. We yearn to become centered by stasis, as if our spiritual, physical, or emotional well-being is a target we can hit, a status we can achieve. We get to the center and believe we've arrived, as if our well-being is a goal with a finish line instead of an ever-evolving process, a continuum we walk daily. We seek the center and want to stay, not realizing the center, if occupied too long, becomes a trap. Stasis turns to stagnation, just like a river that no longer moves. This is the time to embrace the continued journey inwards towards source, the imaginal and the liminal, and outwards towards life, the practical and the tangible. A witch knows her journey moves in both directions, inward and outward, and doesn't count the steps inward as accomplishment, nor the required steps outwards as failure. She embraces both expansion and entropy and is devoted to the path as it circles and changes. Lovely. It's I don't think I've ever seen such an Aries new moon. And, yes, some of it is bringing some of that aggressiveness and things like that, but you don't have to be that one. It's kind of eyes on the prize. But try things, and if they don't work, try something else, like those unfinished paintings, right? We are really entering something where we've never been before. So plant those seeds. Don't forget, enter the spiral for 20% off on my website, louiseedington.com. Bye.